We were talking Nashville, Tennessee. Somehow Jamie had never been to Nashville, Tennessee. He dropped his first visit. We're going to do a deep dive into the Grand Hyatt Nashville. It opened October 1st, 2020. So in the peak of the pandemic days, I think we're going to learn a lot about this property. It's funny to me, if you're familiar with Nashville at all, this area is kind of in the Gulch, which is now considered a premier upscale, highly walkable neighborhood of Nashville. And I remember it as a very gritty industrial rail yard and lumber yard. Cool thing is this hotel is actually kind of on the bigger side. It's 591 rooms, 53 suites. It's 24 floors in the air of all glass. As I mentioned, this was for a century a famous rail yard, train yard, lumber yard in the industrial area. So the hotel does pay tribute to that with a lot of the unique seating in the lobby. And then all the rooms actually have hardwoods. We'll try and give you some other options to stay at in Nashville. Jamie and I were just looking at a list of the insane amount of hotels that have recently opened in Nashville and are opening soon. And it is kind of crazy, Jamie. I haven't been to Nashville since 2018, and pretty much every hotel that's worth talking about in Nashville didn't exist in 2018, which is insane. 2021, you got the Hyatt Centric and the W Nashville. 2022 was a huge year in Nashville. You have Soho House, you have the One Hotel Nashville, the Conrad, the Four Seasons. 2024 brought you the Drift Nashville. 2025 has had some other opening hotels like the Gilmore, Mint House. 2026 has had the Chloe Nashville open. I think you've got one real vintage hotel in the Hermitage, which is just a great kind of classic luxury hotel. There is a Nashville Edition Hotel and Residence opening in the Gulch in 2028. You have a St. Regis Nashville, which is oddly opening very close to the JW Marriott, it looks like, with another decent sized hotel. There's a Pendry also coming to Nashville. So Nashville has arrived and you have arrived in it, Jamie. What's your, before you even get into the hotel and talk hotels,
Yeah.
what's your first reaction to being in Nashville? And since you had never been, what would you describe Nashville to someone that's never been? Like, why should they go? Like, why is it a town worth visiting?
Man. So we were in town for a concert. So preface, obviously we've said I've never been to Nashville before. I'm not a country music fan. And when I always thought Nashville, I'm thinking like honky tonk, country music, cowboy boots, which in a way, a lot of that is true, but that's not all it was. So I was really, I love Nashville. I would say I will be back probably sooner than later. I really enjoyed it. So first off, getting there, it's super close to the airport. So 20, 25 minutes plus or minus without traffic. So super accessible, which I appreciate, especially for a short weekend trip. But as far as the city itself goes, the energy there, now obviously I went on a weekend, so Monday through Friday may be a little bit different, but the energy in the city was incredible. The amount of live music that you can see 24 hours a day, it seems like, was crazy. So obviously most people listening have probably been to Nashville before, so I may be already just repeating things, but hotel lobby, we get there Friday afternoon, we get dressed, we walk out. There's live music in the hotel lobby at the hotel lobby bar right in the hotel. So right there, already live music. You walk down the street, there's 100 bars on Broadway, and the Grand Hyatt is right on Broadway. So it's a great location. You walk a quarter of a mile right into like the action, I would say. Every single bar has at least like one live performer. If it's multiple floors, there might be multiple live performers on multiple floors. I mean, you hear live music coming from every direction. Broadway reminded me of Vegas, how crowded and crazy it got over the weekend, just elbow to elbow people. And I don't know if they do this every night or just Saturday night, but they close down the actual street itself to like cars, and it's only pedestrian traffic. So, or at least the majority of it, they may leave one lane down the middle, but it is just like wall to wall people, bachelorette parties and cowboy boots everywhere, just tons of energy, like drinks, music. Like it's just a really good time. So I would go back in a second.
Jamie, I got to say, even though it's been 8 years since I've been to Nashville, but even going as a younger kid, I feel like Nashville's always been electric. A lack of luxury hotels and maybe bachelorette parties 15, 20 years ago. But there's always just, and now like I think being Western and country is kind of cool and trendy with
Yeah.
younger kids. So I think all the more. But I love all music. So I don't mind country music. I don't mind bluegrass. But it's just, even if you don't like the music, it's just the whole like energy and environment, and the fact that there's just so much of it, it kind of sucks you in. You have a couple beers and it's hard not to kind of swing your hips a little bit and have some fun.
And I think one of the things that I really, obviously, this is probably me getting into the older years, right? I'm not a 20-some-year-old anymore. It's like all these people, all these musicians are like chasing their dreams. It's like, hey, hopefully, how awesome is that to be a 20-something-year-old in a cool city like that, out every night? And, everyone you listen to, they're playing at one bar and they're like, hey, and come check us out tomorrow at this bar and come check us out on Monday. They're just grinding, and I can
Right.
appreciate that. And I think that's awesome. And, you never know, one of these people that you just happen to stumble into one of these dive bars and you see perform, like they could have a hit single out, 5 years from now. You're like, oh, I remember seeing them in the basement at whatever bars. I think it's really cool.
Jamie, let's talk about something right off the bat that stands out to me about this hotel. You're right on the corner of the Gulch. I think you got a lot of access to good food. I almost think they couldn't have put a hotel in a more perfect place than the Grand Hyatt Nashville, in my opinion. My concern is I have a few questions. What floor did you stay on? And do you think that on the lower floors it's too loud, or you just safely removed enough
That,
from Broadway?
yep. All right. So first is, so where it is, it's this new mixed use area. It's called Nashville Yards. So this building, so the Grand Hyatt was actually the very first completed building in Nashville Yards. It is like this, it says 19-acre mixed use district in the heart of downtown Nashville. It basically connects the Gulch in like the Broadway area, right? So you talk
Hmm.
about it used to be the Gulch. So they dumped tons of money in here. It's Amazon's Nashville hub. So Amazon has a building there. So tons of money getting dumped into this area. They've put in a 4,500 music arena. And then I'll talk about it, like literally connected to the Grand Hyatt. So I think all the buildings have like on their doors, if they're part of it, it says Nashville Yards. So even when you walk into the front
Okay.
door of, it's Grand Hyatt, Nashville Yard, you walk through the front door, walk straight out the back, and you come down, and there's like a container park, right? So if you've ever seen the container park, like in Fremont Street in Vegas, it's a bunch of 6 or 8 containers that there's like food trucks and, different food and drink options there. There's a dog park right out there. My dog obviously just heard me. Hey. So dog park out there. And then also there's a 9-hole mini golf course under Broadway. So this is all built like underneath Broadway. And there's probably 6 or 8 pickleball courts. Right there, there's a lot of stuff to do that's not like going and play or, going drinking and music and that kind of thing. So super nice, really cool. And that's literally connected to the Grand Hyatt. Now, talking about what you were saying, I stayed on the 18th floor. I do wish these rooms had balconies because I think it would be really cool to look down Broadway and see that, action. But I stayed at I think it was called the Broadway Quarter Suite, which is not a huge suite. It's probably like 600 or 700 square feet, but it's literally on the corner of the building. So you have glass on 2 sides. And if you look out, you look straight down Broadway. So the views were really awesome from the room. So I think it's not a huge like price premium from a base room. It's maybe $150 more, and you have a living room and you have this awesome view. So I think that would be probably my choice of rooms if you're going and you plan to spend any time in your room. It was neat, even coming back at night, Friday night, Saturday night, midnight, and looking down and still seeing all the action going on. So, and I would say the rooms this is not like super luxury, right? It's not Four Seasons with $4,500 fixtures like we talked about last week on our episode. This is a Grand Hyatt, very comfortable, nice rooms, kind of what you expect from a Grand Hyatt room, just a nice new, well-equipped room.
Jamie, peek over at where I message you, and I'm going to try and put video footage as we talk about this. But I found this article on December 31st, New Year's Eve. 2 men put on parachutes and jumped off the hotel roof
Man, that building is not
bar.
that tall. 25
I
stories is
know.
not that tall.
Well,
That's
luckily, this lady, Amanda Realty, so thank you, Amanda. Unlike most people in crisis, she actually ran towards them and filmed them going down. So it's like a little base jumping activity, and she got the whole thing on footage. But what a crazy experience! But
I guess that's why
I
they don't
think
have
this just goes to
balconies.
show. Yeah. See, you were wondering why there's no balconies. This is this kind of behavior. I was just looking to see if there's anything interesting written about the hotel, and that was one of the first things that popped up. And I was like, "This is crazy." But I'm glad someone got video of.
That is crazy. So, talk about location, right? So you walk out, you're on Broadway. That's right there. I believe that is where also like the Nashville Predators play, right on Broadway, kind of right in that main
Yeah,
section.
Bridgestone Arena right there.
Yeah. So this we didn't plan to. We went to go see Ed Sheeran, but we were at dinner and my daughter's like, "Hey, 5 Seconds of Summer's here playing in the arena. Can we grab tickets?" They were able to grab like last minute tickets for like $50. So they got to go see two concerts in the same weekend, which was really cool. And it is walkable to the Nissan Stadium. It's not like right next door, but we walked back from the concert afterwards. It's maybe like a mile and it's through all the action. So it's not like, oh, you're walking down like some seedy alleys and things like that. So if you're going to a football game or you're going to a concert at the arena or at the stadium, like it's going to be fine. And they're also building a brand new Nissan Stadium right next to the current Nissan Stadium. So next year, that's going to be, probably a new $1 billion stadium like we're seeing in all these World Cup games.
Are they putting a roof on it?
Yeah, I think it's a retractable roof.
Okay. I gotta say, just totally unrelated. I really hate outdoor concerts. I don't know why. They're just most of the time they're just not as good. Now, this how about this? The smaller scale, like the more intimate the concert, the better it is outside. But I think once you start getting like 10,000, 20,000, obviously I'm in the minority because things like
Yeah.
Coachella exist, but I don't know. It's just outdoor stadiums, I feel like it never sounds as good or you lose some of that energy versus the indoor stadium.
Well, and I will say too, obviously you're going 70,000 people versus 15,000, right? So no
Right.
matter, I think it's a different experience. There's
That's
not many
true.
people that can do stadiums.
That's a good point. Does he put on a good show? I mean, not that that's relevant, but
I
like, was
was,
it a
I
good
mean,
concert?
I was impressed with it.
Okay.
And he what was cool, obviously, is in Nashville. So Ed Sheeran lived in Nashville for a year, two times. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
2013, I didn't know that either. He talked about it in the show. He lived
Okay.
there in 2013 and 2018. So he has lots of friends in Nashville. So he brought out some guest people during his show. So I can't remember what the one person's name. It was a big name country person. They came out and sang with him. I didn't really, or Dan and Shay.
Okay.
So they came out, like crowd went crazy. His opener was like a fairly big name person. So he put on a really good show. I was impressed with what it was. And it's called the Loop Tour. It's only him. He doesn't have a band. So this was really impressive. He will record loops of his own music and voice and everything, and it becomes the song, which was crazy to me.
Wow.
So yeah, he does put on a pretty impressive show.
Jamie, let's get back into this
Yeah.
hotel now that we've diverged a few times. What is the Grand Hyatt is kind of one of those brands that I feel like has really lost its brand standard as time has gone by. Obviously the hotel's new, so that's something to consider. But like, what about like food and amenities? Like, is there a club lounge at this hotel? Is there a coffee shop in the place? Granted, I know in the Gulch there's a lot of breakfast
Yeah.
nearby, but like, is there restaurants? Like, what's kind of the deal over here?
Yeah. So those are good questions. So I know before the episode, I had made the comment, this is probably the nicest city Grand Hyatt that I've ever been to. Obviously, it's only, 5 or 6 years old now, but it's very well done. The lobby is gorgeous. You walk in, it does not have a typical like Grand Hyatt conference hotel like feel to it at all. There's a really lively lobby bar. Like the ceilings are very high in the lobby, so super nice there. Right off the lobby, you have a nice coffee shop that does like pastries. They have some grab and go food, things like that. You've got a sit down breakfast restaurant. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I have it here somewhere. And then they also have a more higher end like steak restaurant as well there,
Okay.
which we'd actually looked at it, not knowing it was at the Grand Hyatt before we went to the Grand Hyatt, like when we were looking for food options. So it was a pretty highly rated restaurant. We're like, oh, that's actually at our hotel. We didn't eat there. It was a little more expensive than and fancier than we wanted with the kids, but it looked really good. Then you also have Luna, like Louna. So I have to imagine it's like Lou Nashville, something like that. It is one of the highest rooftop bars in Nashville, 25th floor. This is probably where the base jumpers jumped from. So that looks like a really cool spot. On the fifth floor, there's a really nice like rooftop pool that looks out over like the city. You can look down over Broadway. I will say this pool was much more crowded than I expected all the time. So the first day we got there, I'm going to say it's 3 or 4 o'clock when we show up. The girls were like, "Hey, let's go to the pool." So we're like, "All right, let's go to the pool." It was very busy. There's bachelorette parties there, so there's people, like, big like, large groups of people too, which I
Yeah.
think it can be expected, but it's not a huge pool deck, so that it gets pretty crowded pretty quickly, and then on the backside, it is basically wide enough for, like, not lounge chairs, but like a sitting chair, and then to be able to walk in front of it. So they're like people laying out there and you're like stepping over them, trying to like get to chairs and stuff. So it definitely gets crowded out there. Now there's a big wide open space next to it, which it looks like you can do events there. And I think you'll talk about some of the other stuff they do up there, but there is more space, but the pool area itself got pretty crowded. So I didn't get many pictures. And then in the morning, I was like, oh, it's 9:30 in the morning. I'm going to go get some pictures of the pool before it gets crowded. It was already crowded at 9:30 in the morning.
Really?
So, and I don't know if that is perpetuating itself, like, hey, there's only 50 seats here. I need to get here early and post up and get my spot. I don't know if it's that, or people are like, hey, I'm going out for the day. I'm going to go spend some time. But that was like probably one of my only complaints. I was kind of looking forward to hanging at the pool, and I'm like, this is not really my scene. So I did not spend too much time at the pool. There is a club lounge, and I will say that is where we had breakfast pretty much every day. Well, both days. We were there for 2 days. I'm going to make this claim right now. This is the nicest domestic Hyatt Club Lounge like in the US. I don't think there's going to be a better one anywhere. So if you're booking a room and the club lounge is not much more expensive, I would book a club lounge room. So breakfast was pretty solid. I mean, it's not, sit down full restaurant buffet breakfast, but they had biscuits and gravy, scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, fresh fruit, pastries, things like that. They put out more snacks during the day than any other lounge that I can remember in the US. So obviously they've got soda, juices, like things like that throughout the day, but tons of like grab and go chips, cookies, snacks, protein bars, like all different stuff like throughout the day. So you could go in anytime until I think it stayed open until 7 o'clock. And there was always stuff that you could like go in and snack on. 5 to 7 in the evening, they did, like happy hour and appetizers and pretty significant amount of food in the evening too. So I'm not going to say you could fully make dinner out of it, but if you're not a big eater, like there was pretty good options each evening. So I will say it's one of the better. No, I'm going to say it's the best club lounge at a Grand Hyatt in the US.
Well, the sound you're hearing now, ladies and gentlemen, is Trevor, our guest from 2 weeks ago, frantically booking this hotel as he's such a club lounge fanboy. He's going to be thrilled on this news.
Let me tell you, after being in Mexico and not getting to enjoy Coke Zeros because I refused to spend $10, and then being able to walk down and grab as many Coke Zeros as I wanted, whenever I wanted, for $0, it was a nice departure from a couple weeks ago.
I mean, that is nice. What do you think you put the club lounge pricing? $50 a day, and you probably would bite.
I'm gonna actually take a look and see what it looks like. $50 would be kind of what I'm thinking. And I will say, what's nice with Prive, let's say you book Prive with a lounge rate, you're getting the best of both worlds. So you're going to get restaurant breakfast, which is going to be better than the lounge breakfast, right? And then you're going to still also get club lounge access, which is really nice. So if you were going like 2 adults, 2 kids, you could technically like sneak down, eat your own breakfast, and be like, if you have kids that are not big eaters, be like, oh, grab some scrambled eggs or, whatever. So this isn't, I'm not even going to say it's a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. So a standard Prive, I just pulled a random weekend in July. Standard Prive member rate, $256 a night. 1 king bed, club access, $299 a night. So you're not even talking $50, $40, $45. I feel like it would be tough not to do that. I mean, $40, $50. I mean, just snacks and drinks and evening appetizers for, if there's 4 of you, if you have kids or 4 people in the room, it is 100% a no-brainer. 2 people,
sure,
maybe not, but yeah, that's crazy pricing.
Okay. What floor is the club lounge on?
Sorry. And I was going to say, just the vibe of the club lounge, it is like, it doesn't feel like a crappy space like some of them. It is a really nice, like the furniture's nice. It's all like dark wood. It's got its own restrooms in there. It's just a nice spot. It is on the main floor, like right off the lobby, which makes it
okay.
It makes it very convenient for like if you're coming and going. So like if we're going back to the room, after walking around, it's easy to just like pop in, let me grab a soda and a cup of ice, or on the way out, like, oh, let me grab one of these protein bars or a bag of chips or something. So
is it Is it just like a door then, or is it like a managed part of the hotel, or what's the situation
Yeah,
that way?
it is a door that you need your key card to get into.
Okay.
And there is a podium out front. And I will say this was the only, and I'm not even gonna like this is nitpicking, but it was kind of a weird experience. So this is one of the nicer and more proactive Grand Hyatts I've stayed at. My wife and I are both globalists, and we both got text messages the morning of arrival, and they're like, "Hey, what's your ETA so we can make sure your rooms are ready?" Blah blah blah. And then you respond back and like, "Hey, you can also you come to the club lounge to check in." I said, "Awesome, right? Don't need to go to the front desk. Like, you just go to the club lounge." So first I get there and my wife's walking towards the front desk. I'm like, "No, they said to go to the club lounge." All right. So like we're trying to find the club lounge. We see it like around the corner. We go there. Door's locked. Can't get in. There's nobody at the podium. I'm like, all right. So I walk back to the front desk and I'm like, "Hey, we got this text to check in at the club lounge. There's nobody there." Like, "Did you use your key?" I said, "I'm not checked in yet. I don't have a key." And she's like, "Oh, that's right." So she's like, "Sorry, they must be on break or something." Apparently there's normally somebody at the door of the club lounge that would like bring you in to check you in the club lounge. They weren't there. So I don't know if it was just bad timing or what, but it was just an awkward arrival experience that I'm like, "Oh, I got this text message to check in at the club lounge," and I couldn't get in. So it added 5 minutes or, whatever to my check-in process. But I was like, "Hey, what's going on here?"
That's funny.
I do want to talk about the rooms a little bit. So again, I pulled a random weekend in July. So this is July 10th through the 12th for pricing examples. The cheapest room is just regular king bed room. There's a Prive member offer, which is like $250 something a night. Their most expensive room, which is a Broadway corner suite, which is what I had stayed in when I was there, is $427 a night. That room for $427, obviously this is before tax and everything, seems like a really, really good deal. Actually, this says accessible Broadway suite with one king tub is $360 a night. So either one of these, they both look like very similar layouts and same square footage. 360, 400 a night. That seems like a bargain to me, especially with Prive. The room was nice. The views are great. It just seems like that seems really $100 markup compared to the base room for a nice suite. Seems like a good use of, a couple extra bucks.
Well, there's probably over 50 of them too, right? Just to be considered just the size of the hotel.
Yeah, I'm gonna imagine every floor, right? So 25 floors, there's probably rooms on 20-ish floors. Yeah, I mean there's got to be a ton of suites and they price very reasonably. Even the executive suite, which is the biggest room at 720 square feet, is $385 a night.
Okay.
And that's essentially 2 rooms connected.
Something to consider then when we talk about some of the alternative options and maybe a little bit more up market options like the Four Seasons would be a good example. You can probably get into a nice suite here for less than the base room or right around the price of the base room at the Four Seasons. So if you value
Yeah.
space or if you have a bigger family, I think that could probably pull you in that direction more so.
Yeah, I feel like this executive suite, which is essentially 2 rooms connected, would be a good option for family, like, younger kids. And I also will say a lot of the rooms connect. So the room we had connected to a 2-queen room, which my daughter and her friend stayed in. So it was nice. We were, it had connecting doors. We were able to open them up during the day. So if you do want more space or you're going with, if it is a bachelorette party or something, you could book one of the suites to hang out in and book the connecting 2-queen room where you could sleep a couple more people. I think that's also a good option.
Also, curious if you can see how they price out though, Jamie, the 2 premium suites here. They've got the Wilder suite and the June presidential suite. They both look really nice. So if you could get into one of those for like the price of a base suite at the Four Seasons, like that could also be.
Now, this is a little bit more expensive date in general. Like a base room is $500 here and the Wilder suite is $1,500, which I guess that means, I'm guessing that means you could probably find it in the $1,000 a night range some other times, which probably is going to be closer to like a Four Seasons comparable time. But let's see.
I was gonna say I pulled up next week just off the cuff, and the Wilder Suite's 902 a night with a 1 king bed being 270.
That's not
That's
bad.
pretty cool. No,
Yeah.
the June
I
presidential suite's 1,200 a night. I mean, that's kind of awesome for 1,500 square feet, especially if you're going to entertain in the room for a little bit. And I'll make sure some pictures at least go up in the.
Yeah, and I think that's good because a lot of times you think like Grand Hyatt or Hyatt Regency, they're just like very generic looking. I mean, How many times have you booked like an executive or some like crazy suite at one of these hotels and it's space, but it's not nice, where these actually look like they have some really nice character and furniture?
Yeah, and they've got like, if you're thinking about pulling the trigger and you're really nervous, both the premium suites have those like 3D walking through floor plans that you can actually see everything in them,
Yeah,
which
these are
is
nice.
pretty cool. And then the presidential suite is obviously on the top floor, like in a corner. So I mean, you just have the most gorgeous view across Nashville as well. One thing I was going to point out, Jamie, your Luna Rooftop Lounge.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research in the name of, podcasting. The name it's actually named after the railroad line that used to go through there. It's Louisville and Nashville, L and N. So it's the
Okay.
Lou,
That makes sense then.
it's the other Lou, not the one that Nelly's from. And then he's proud.
I will shout out to the fitness center here. Well, it's not like the hugest fitness center. It is, the views are really nice. It's on the 5th floor, so it looks out. You're actually looking out over, the city. You're not stuck in a basement somewhere. And that's also where the spa is. So the 5th floor is like the wellness floor. You've got the outdoor pool, you've got the spa, you've got the fitness center. I got in there one day, walked to the treadmill for a little bit. It was nice. Not, like I said, I think the dumbbells go up to 50 pounds. You're not going to get like this crazy workout in, but it is a nice, open, like nice open light.
Yeah. I gotta say, I think the more and more I come back to it, the location is just second to none, I feel like, where you're at.
And that was one of the main reasons when I was looking. I was obviously we went to this concert and I hadn't been to Broadway before. I was between this and the Thompson. They were pricing it out like very similarly. The Thompson does look nice, but this like mapped out location wise seemed to be a better location.
Yeah, because the Thompson's like deep into the other side of the gulch.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, the week you were gone, we kind of were a little mean to Thompson hotels. I don't know if you caught that, but
Oh, I heard. As I was hanging out with all these Thompson sales reps and GMs, I'm lucky I didn't get jumped.
well, it is what it is. I gotta say, I don't think we said anything that other people don't feel. It is the market speaks. We're just the conduits of information.
Well, we'll do an episode about one of these Thompsons because we are staying at the Thompson Central Park in September.
Perfect. I'm excited for it. And you were just at the best Thompson, according to AI, in the world at the Thompson Cape.
Yeah, so we'll compare them.
Jamie, I got to ask, because if you didn't realize this was near your hotel, I'm very upset for your daughter because I'm sure she would have loved to do this. I'm sure, Jamie, in your life, you have seen the famous black wall with the big wings and all the girls who go to Nashville that take pictures there. Are you familiar with this, or do I need to send
Yes.
context?
Oh yeah, no, I'm familiar with it. We did not go to it. That I know
it's
of.
very
I
close.
didn't. Maybe my daughter and her friend did, but I did not.
It's like around the corner from your hotel. So that is a bummer. Weirdly, like there's a lot of really cool murals around the gulch, but like weirdly, a lot of them are like made by brands. There's like a Patagonia mural and like a Lego mural. Why, I don't know. But
interesting.
Yes, it's the What Lifts You. It's like the fairy wings photo that you could find 6,000 women a day taking their pictures there.
Man, I'm going back to Nashville. I'm telling you right now. I'm just looking. So the same weekend that I just looked at for Grand Hyatt, and I know we're going to talk about some more hotels. 4 Seasons, $440 a night, preferred partner benefits.
I was going to say, there are a lot of times I see 4 Seasons Nashville under $500 a day, which to stay at 4 Seasons is incredible.
And like I said, the weekend we were there, obviously there's a bazillion people in town for a stadium concert. Hotel prices were not good. 4 Seasons is a great location, but it was not an option for us, where you start getting down in the 400s, and I also had to get 2 rooms. So this would be great if I go back with just my wife.
That's true. I'm really eager for you to go there because I'm curious to see how the 4 Seasons feels against like a Minneapolis, where it was like, I thought it'd just be a basic hotel, and I feel like they really went above and beyond. Jamie, real quick before we leave the Grand Hyatt Nashville, I think one last thing I really want to touch on before we just totally go rogue and dig into Nashville a little bit. If you're a Christmas person and you're going to go to Nashville, I feel like this is the hotel to do, like, if you live in the Southeast or something, especially to do like a special Christmas trip, weekend pop-up, something of that nature. And I say that, Jamie, they convert on your 5th floor where you where you said you went and I think checked out the pool. I don't know where it all fits in here, but they build out a little Christmas village. They have a little ice skating rink with synthetic ice. And then just in doing some research and reading, they do like cookie making classes on Saturdays during Christmas, and they have breakfast or like brunch with Santa on Sundays during Christmas as well. So like, first off, Nashville's great in the winter because it's not 100 degrees outside. So like a lot of that I think is just fun. I don't know. I like hotels that really lean into holidays, even if it's a holiday you care about or not. It just makes it extra memorable. And so I mean, ice skating I think is cool. I think even as like kids, maybe up to maybe like 8 or 9 or 10, I think a breakfast with Santa is kind of a fun idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, the pictures look really cool too. When you sent that article, I was like, oh, that's really, really neat.
Anything else to cover, you think, here?
I think location wise, great location, service was good. I think the only thing to mention that if you don't need a car, and I know you and I both like to drive, I think you're close enough to the Nashville airport. You could Uber there probably reasonably. Parking was $60 a night valet. So if you're there for more than a couple days, that adds up pretty quickly. And we didn't use the car at all while we were there. So I think that's worth looking into, depending, how many people and what an Uber may cost from the airport, which I can't imagine is more than like 40 or $50. So that'd be my only tip.
Is that $60 valet only?
Yeah, I did not see a self-parking option. Not to say there's not a parking garage somewhere that you could park at.
I know the death of self-parking though in modern hotels is very upsetting.
And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but we could probably Google this and get the answer really quickly. But do you feel like these hotels probably like lease out their parking and it's just like someone pays them $20,000 a month to run the parking and, some other business runs it and gets all this money? I have no idea. But valet
Jamie,
parking
if
only
that
is
is the
gotten
case,
outrageous.
if that is the case, I am going to quit this podcast and go own parking lots because that fun fact, that was my dream as a kid. Also, my wife's dream is to own a parking lot. Like, how great! You just sit there, collect money, no capex.
That's a good hustle.
So,
but I feel like every valet is like ran by a third party. So I have no idea like I don't know what that financial arrangement looks like, but it's always a third party that runs valet.
I have a good friend. I shouldn't say good friend. I know a guy from back in the car industry in Atlanta who owns probably the largest valet business in Atlanta, Georgia. I might shoot him a message on Facebook and ask how this works. Maybe
Like, hey, what's the business? Like, what's the business model? Do you guys pay a flat fee? Do you get,
Yeah,
I'm
he
very
actually
curious.
talks about his valet business like on YouTube sometimes. Like he's been on a show, so he'll give me the scoop.
Yeah, I feel like that's very fascinating.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He tells a story about one of his valet guys crashed one of their cars into like a. No, you're not even ready for this. Like a G5 jet. Like it was one of those like valets.
I was not ready for that. Yeah,
at an airport hangar, and they just backed it into this jet, and he was like,
I can imagine filing that insurance claim.
Well, I think he was nervous it wasn't going to hold up.
That's understandable.
Anyway, I used to spend some time with him. When we were both in our much younger days, he had a cool Acura NSX, which I think he still has, and would come out to the car meets. I'll give him a shout. He has a YouTube called Valet Stories, and I'll do my best to put some of those on there. And he's been on a show called VinWiki telling some of his stories as well. But,
I love VinWiki.
Prestige Valet Services is his business name. He's been doing it for 25 years. Alex Farrington. He's a really cool guy. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met in the car scene. So that's just funny story, but totally off topic. But I'm going to ask him and see if he can give me some insight here. So Jamie, obviously some of these new hotels you can't stay at because they're not open.
Fair.
St. Regis really excites me, I think, in Nashville. That's coming up. Pendry have you stayed at a Pendry hotel?
I haven't. So when I did my little run around over in Deer Valley, I almost stayed at the Pendry Park City because it is a brand that I'm very interested in. I had not heard of it until a couple of years ago, and I'm like, this seems really cool, right? So it's like the city version of these montages. So where I was going with that, I almost stayed at the Pendry Park City. It looks really cool, and I thought it'd be a nice one to check off, and like haven't stayed there, but I have not stayed at a Pendry yet.
I haven't either. Which that's part of the problem is that it's always on my list in a city and I never get to that part of the list. Or I'm like, oh, I'm not paying that much money to stay in a city hotel sometimes. Well, let's put our pretend hat on, Jamie, for the last 10 minutes of this episode. If you go back to Nashville, the Grand Hyatt Nashville falls into a black pit of the galaxy and never exists again, where do you feel like you would stay and why?
So 100, I already know that I'm staying at the Four Seasons when I go back. So I will base my next
Okay.
trip around when there is a third night free promotion or it prices out well. I had wanted to stay there when it first opened, and was actually looking for a reason to go to Nashville back then to check it out. It is a great location. It overlooks the river. So it's like Sobro, South Broadway, whatever. So awesome location. You can walk to everything. This would have been an ideal location even for the concert we just went to. It's even closer to the Nissan Stadium, like just pop across the river. The rooftop pool, the views from there look incredible. Obviously, you and I are both pretty big Four Seasons fans. So that will be definitely the next place that I stay when I go. Actually, just as we were talking, obviously before I said I found nights for like $450. So hopefully I can find where I can get either a third night free promo going or a like stay longer, get more credit promo.
Jamie, I have to warn you, just a couple blocks up from the Four Seasons is a bar called Chiefs on Broadway, and just
Yeah.
beware of any flying chairs if you happen to say that.
Is that where what's his name threw him off the roof?
That is where Morgan Whalen threw his chairs off the roof. So, just want you to stay safe while you're at the Four Seasons. Weirdly, that whole area seems like it's turned into a pocket of celebrity bars.
So
Across from Chiefs is Jelly Roll's Goodnight Nashville next to Lainey Wilson's Bell Bottoms Up. I mean, who knew?
I'm actually glad you talked about that because I did a ton of research while I was in Nashville because I was fascinated. And let me see if some of my GPTs are still up from when I was there
Okay.
because this was crazy. Because I was curious. I'm like, okay, it seems like everybody who's Snoop Dogg and Dre have a bar in Nashville.
Really?
So just to give you an idea, anybody who's anybody has a bar there. But I was more
Wow.
curious. I'm like, do these people own the bars? Or is it,
Right. Or is it
are you just
licensing?
licensing your name or what's it look like? So it is a fascinating, there's multiple business models, right? So most of them just do name licensing. So when I looked, Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan, Miranda Lambert, Morgan Wallen, Lainey Wilson, Blake Shelton, they just license their names. Partial owners and investors, right? So these people actually have skin in the game. Bon Jovi, Eric Church, Justin Timberlake, Dierks Bentley, Kid Rock. So they're like part owners, not like super involved. And then there's some they talk about like genuine, like they own the place or major equity partners. Alan Jackson, John Rich, Garth Brooks, Trisha Yearwood actually own their bars, are involved, like full on investor owners. But it was kind of fascinating to me because I'm like, man, there are so many people, they can't all own them. And then I'm like, okay, do you just own them while you're popular and then they kind of dump you off for a year or two? Like, I don't know how that works. So yeah, it was
Probably
pretty
if
crazy.
it's a licensing deal.
That's my guess. Because
Yeah.
even some of like these up and comers that I had not like, I've heard like, maybe I've heard a song on the radio or something. I'm like, how do they have a freaking bar? But I imagine if you're a bar owner or an investor, you're like, let's sign them for 5 years and hope that they take off.
Okay. Yeah. Jamie, I got to say one thing too, and I know you're kind of in a time crunch and you had concerts and other things to go to, but I got to tell you, when you do go back, you're a little far from the Gulch. But man, Jamie, there is so much good food. I mean, you live in the South. I used to live in the South. I kind of think Nashville is like
What's Texas?
Texas.
It's just, it's its own entity. It's not the South.
I think so.
Okay,
Well,
that's
how
fair.
about this? How about this? I think some people consider Texas the South. As someone myself who has lived in the actual South and who now lives in Texas, they're very
Okay, that's fair.
the cultural differences between South Carolina and Texas are light years apart.
Okay.
Texas is more southwestern, I think, is the issue. Like the foods
That's
aren't
fair,
the same.
yeah.
Texas is very much more influenced by Mexican culture
Yeah,
and
more like Tex-Mex versus like Southern cooking.
well, and honestly, Texas food is a lot spicier than Southern food. And like I don't know where you can get collard greens in Texas. Like
that's
it's
fair.
just there's a cultural divide there. But here nor there. Nashville to me is like, I think because it's a younger city. Okay. Younger in the people who go there, and I think just as an establishment of a city, I think it kind of has some of the best Southern food because it's a lot more like modern twist.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of younger chefs there. It kind of reminds me, equivalent to maybe a Charleston as well would be the other city I'd kind of put in a comparison to, where Atlanta has a lot of good food, but a lot of it's like very old hat stuff,
Yeah.
where it's like, this is how things were done in the 80s, but we're just still cranking away because we've been, for all of time. There's a place called Biscuit Love, Jamie. Highly
I'm bummed
recommend
I
you
didn't go there.
mark this on. They have this thing, I think it's called a bow nut, and it's literally a fried biscuit. So,
Okay.
if that's not some Southern living there, They do also have there's a place called Peg Leg Porker, which is a great Tennessee barbecue name. There's another place like on the center of Broadway called Jack's Barbecue, which I kind of love because I used to go there when I was younger and it's still there. It's not as good, in my opinion, as Peg Leg Porker, but it's just another good barbecue established place. And I told you about Butcher and the Bee, which is on the wrong side of town from you. I mean, I love that place. And then just looking around some of the places I've been to, there's a really popular restaurant called Husk Nashville, which that's actually a little bit closer to the Four Seasons. So that might be a good play for you over there. With the Finch is another place. And there's so much good stuff to eat just right around there. You are kind of right. You don't really need a car in this general area, and just, you know, eat till your heart's content. I'm curious to hear if people are going to get hostile about us not calling Texas the South or the South Texas, but whatever. You've made it 45 minutes in. We're just freewheeling at this point. So Four Seasons is on your radar. Jamie, anything else you feel like you miss? You need to get there's a new Virgin Hotel now too, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that one popping up.
And we can get benefits at the Virgin Hotel in Nashville as well.
Ones that I thought was interesting. Holston House, I thought was kind of an interesting one. I walked past it and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good location. It's right off Broadway. That's part of Hyatt Prive, so we can get benefits there. So that looks like a good option. I know we talked about One Hotel Nashville. It doesn't seem to get amazing reviews, but that was a decent location. The Joseph looked kind of cool. I didn't look location wise, but like the outdoor pool looked neat, looked like a cool spot. I know you had mentioned the Hermitage. I didn't look to see exactly where that was, but I feel like that's like classic Nashville from somebody who's never been to Nashville.
Yeah, Jamie, the Hermitage Hotel, I think, is if you're a person that likes old hotels, old in like a good way, not like old and outdated, but like from the Gilded era almost.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. I do have a sweet spot for some of those. This hotel opened September 17th, 1910, and it was billed as the first hotel in Nashville to be $1 million hotel. It was engineered to be fireproof, which, we know about claims in 1910, how well some of those went with unsinkable. But, this hotel was said to be fireproof, noiseproof, and dustproof. It is a boutique 122 oversized guest room and suite. It just underwent a massive multi-year renovation. I think the cool thing about it is, though, it is remodeled, but it still carries like a very Art Deco 1930s aesthetic. It's got lime green tiles, those terrazzo floors. Yeah, I don't know if this is relevant to you or anyone here, but it won the Best Bathroom in America award.
Interesting.
I mean, hard not to love the best bathroom in the world. There's a lot of just, I think, cool, unique history in there. There's a John Jordan's dining place. It's called Dries and Dyer. And if you're not going to stay in a modern new hotel, if you're more of the boutique hotel fan, I would stay here. And through Virtuoso, we can offer you a bunch of similar benefits to these at their free upgrade and the whatnot. And Jamie, I didn't even think about this. I was reading about the history of this hotel, and it opened without air conditioning because that did not exist yet.
Man, I can't even imagine.
Could you imagine Nashville in the summer without air conditioning?
All right. So I don't know if you've been following this.
Okay.
It's been all over social media, probably more so my social media because I'm a Disney fan.
Okay.
So the Wilderness Lodge, which is a deluxe hotel, one of my favorite hotels in Disney, particularly around Christmas time. I believe it was on Thursday I started following the story. The air conditioning went out at the property. In Orlando, Florida, in June, it's 100 degrees out. It was still partially out as of today.
Stop.
So it was out completely for like the first 2 days. So Thursday night, Friday night, they were trying to reaccommodate people, giving full refunds, fans in the rooms if you wanted to stay, but the rooms were getting up to like 90 degrees. They had to cancel
What is a fan going to do?
They had to cancel all the dining reservations because the kitchens were too hot to cook in. It sounds like a disaster. What would you do? Like, I tried to think about, I'm like, well, one, I would I would not have stuck around. I would have figured out somewhere else to go to. They were like letting people move and giving them discounts at different hotels and refunding them for this one. But I'm like, man, imagine you plan this week-long Disney vacation and that's the week you happen to be there. What a disaster.
I mean, I think I live in a much warmer home than you, but 90 degrees is oof.
And then I even think about, I'm like, could you imagine being an employee there? So even as they prioritized getting air conditioning back in the hotel room. So after 2 days, they're starting to get air back in the hotel rooms. But the common areas, the lobby, the restaurants and stuff, they were still, I think even as of today, this morning when I read it, I think they were still struggling. Could you imagine as a front desk employee, knowing you're going to go stand around in 90-degree heat and just be berated all day,
I'd probably quit, or at least call in sick.
right? I'm not going to work. Like that is crazy to me.
I don't want to disparage Disney on this podcast, and I know you're a huge fan, but I'm fairly certain they're not paying those people nearly enough to be a
No.
frontline worker dealing with those
Nope.
people with no air conditioning.
Not a chance.
I'd need hazard pay, holiday pay.
It would already be miserable just to go to work anywhere in 90-degree heat and be sweating all day. And then knowing everyone around you is going to be miserable as well. Not a chance.
It probably feels better on a construction site. At least
Yes.
you're open air.
And no one's cursing you out about spending $10,000 and you ruined their vacation.
Yeah. All right. I want you, that's crazy. Let's circle back to this Hermitage Hotel. I want you to look up these Hermitage Hotel bathrooms that won
Okay.
the best bathroom award because they're kind of funky. And you got to check out the women's and men's bathroom because I'm going to put some pictures up on those. I want your reaction to these. But now, here's something cool about this hotel we didn't touch on. This hotel is right next to Capitol Hill, right next to the state capitol. And it is rumored, Jamie, that there used to be a secret underground tunnel that governors, senators, and lobbyists would meet secretly in this bathroom, this famous bathroom, to hash out backroom political deals that they could go through via an underground tunnel. So that's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
And since this place was so close to, the Capitol and whatever, it is said to be in August of 1920, the Hermitage Hotel was ground zero for the women's suffrage movement. As Tennessee voted on the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, the hotel was packed with pro-suffrage and anti-suffrage lobbyists who set up rival headquarters on different floors of the hotel. To show where they stood, people wore roses on their lapel. A yellow rose meant you supported the right to vote. Red roses meant you. And apparently, there's rumors also that obviously this hotel was built during Prohibition and before Prohibition that there was whiskey freely flowing through this hotel.
I mean, if you're the best of the best.
But always cool. So what did you think about these bathrooms? You check them out? You got the all pink.
That's pretty wild. The pink and the green.
Yeah. I like that it has the shoe stations because no one's ever using those, but it's cool that they're there.
It is cool.
It's weirdly like it looks very Art Deco, but also very weirdly futuristic all at the same time with like the colors and the lime green sinks.
I mean,
and stuff.
that's what the bathrooms remind me of, like almost like a 1950s like look into the future.
Yeah, those are fun bathrooms. I actually wasn't familiar with those. I'm glad we pulled those up. That is cool. But Jamie, we somehow made it to the hour mark again, just like we managed to do with every hotel property. If you're still tuned in, I think you owe us a subscribe, a like, something, please. Just let us know we're out there. I get reminded every time that I log in to Spotify, depressingly. It gives me this big warning. It's like, shows as large as yours generally have 350 more subscribers than you. Tell your viewers to subscribe.
Get us there.
This is my work. Like us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, whatever. For the algorithm, it all helps. We do appreciate you listening. You're a number one and number two fans. The only way we could like you more as a fan is if you also became a client and you're a client and a fan. travelbrospod.com/book with us. Thank you for listening to the best podcast episode ever. I'm glad we've converted Jamie into a Nashvilleian, a Nash Vegasian. Nashvilleian sounds kind of creepy. We'll just call you a Nash Vegasian. I was so confident you would like Nashville because you love Vegas. I was like, there's nothing to not love about
And
Nashville.
I can't lose money there.
Yes. Well, you can.
So it's like a win-win.
Yes. You could throw, a chair off the 6th floor of a bar too, but who's to say? Who's to say? I think people would care a lot less if you did it. But
yes. Well, and I was going to say, I actually had the mentality of while I was at these bars and stuff, because everyone's working for tips. A lot of these places, it's like they may not even get paid to perform, so they all have their signs up, requests, and everything. And I'm like, I'd be losing so much money in Vegas right now, and I was a very generous tipper while I was there. So tip your performers.
Yes, yes. Tip your performers. However, don't tip your quick service restaurant wait staff.
Correct.
Boy. Luckily, not many people are listening at this point, so I think we should be okay. Jamie, it's been real. It's been fun. Like I said, best podcast episode ever. Episode 78 in the book. Jamie, we're creeping up. 100. I can feel episode
100's gonna be
100.
crazy.
We got to come up with something exciting to do. Maybe we'll wear party hats.
Party hats and make sure we have a good episode.
I said we're gonna have to send you to the Amman for episode 100.
Yeah, the $4,500 a night. I was just telling someone about that.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.